Welcome to episode 2 of the Ultimate Filmmaking and Videography course. In today's episode, we're going to discuss which camera should you buy. I'm going to explain everything about camera bodies. By the end of this video, you will be able to choose which camera you should buy. As a cinematographer, filmmaker, or videographer, you need to know everything about all camera bodies, because in some projects, you might need to shoot with a photography camera using its video features. All photography cameras nowadays have video in them, and some projects may not have the budget to shoot with a proper video or cinema camera. That's why we're going to explain everything you need about camera bodies. And there won't be any paywalls in order to complete this videography course. So please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, write down a comment of what you think of this course, and share it with your friends so they can benefit from it too. Now we're going to divide this video into 3 sections in order to compare camera bodies. Starting with the first one, you have 2 main kinds of camera bodies. One of them with the lens attached to the body, and one of them with an interchangeable lens system. The first one with the lens attached to the body is called a point-and-shoot camera. That includes the digital camera that your dad has, GoPros, Osmo Pockets, and even your phone. The name point-and-shoot came from the ease of use of these cameras. These were made for users who are not interested in knowing all the secrets and dials of photography. The proper use is travel, someone who wants a camera for their family, someone who wants to have camera on them all the time, capturing all the memories in a fast and easy way, and to have good quality images. In the past, phones did not have cameras, so point-and-shoot cameras were the only solution. Modern phones have a couple of lenses in them. So let's say my iPhone has 2 cameras in it, but if we open the camera app, we see 3 cameras available. That's because they are using the same lens, but they're cropping on the sensor. So it's just like an image taken and cropped in the edit. But because of computational photography, it will give you a slightly better result than cropping in post or cropping in the edit. The iPhone 17 and 17 Pro has like 5 or 6 cameras in it, although it has only 3 physical cameras on the phone itself. That's because they are using the high megapixel amount in the sensor itself. So if you're taking a 1x picture, you can get it in 48 megapixels. If you get a 2x picture, it will be 24 megapixels using the same sensor, but just cropping 2 times. When you use the 4x sensor, you are going into a different camera, which is the 4x camera. When you go to 8x, you're just cropping on that 4x sensor, the exact same one, to get more reach. These cameras will not allow you to change the lenses. So whatever set of lenses that you have on them, that's the one you're going to shoot with. Unlike the other type, which is a camera with an interchangeable lens system, which is the professional kind in the market right now. An interchangeable lens system will allow you to mount any lens that is compatible with the company of the camera that you're buying. So if you have a Sony camera, you can only attach Sony lenses or even third-party lenses that's made for Sony, because each camera company has their own lens mount. So Sony has the E mount, Nikon has the Z mount, Canon has the RF mount, and they change over time. Like Canon had the EF before, and now they have the RF mount. So you cannot mount an EF lens to an RF lens, although they are both Canon. That's why they say date the body and marry the lenses, because whenever you invest in a set of lenses for a certain company, it's very hard to change to another company or change to another manufacturer. It's also considered a professional option because it allows you to adapt different kinds of lenses for different kinds of jobs. So let's say I'm going to Kenya and I'm going to shoot wildlife. I definitely need a telephoto lens that can reach up to 600mm or 800mm, because I cannot go just next to a lion to get a photo out of them. They will eat me. It's not a proper way to shoot any animal. So you have to have a telephoto lens, which is a lens that allows you to zoom more. While in low light situations, I might need a lens with a bigger aperture. If you haven't seen the previous episode where I explained everything about shutter speed, aperture, ISO, and even frame rates, go watch it after this video to understand what I'm talking about. Each job requires a different set of lenses. That's why we have all of these choices available when we buy or invest into an interchangeable lens system. Let's wrap up the first part. Which camera should you choose? If you're just a hobbyist, if you're starting out, if you want to learn, use your phone. It's okay. Phones today have the greatest image quality that we've ever seen. I've shot a lot of clips on the iPhone 17 Pro, and it's incredible. I have a review of it. You can watch it. I'll link it up here. It's not going to replace my cinema camera, but it's a great option if I don't have my camera on me or I'm not allowed to get my camera to certain places. If you are a person who's making money out of their camera, you're doing this professionally, go invest in a proper interchangeable lens system or interchangeable lens camera. You have to have this option of changing lenses. If you're not serious, just go with your phone or any point and shoot camera. Going to the second part, which is the types of bodies that you can choose from. Starting with film cameras, which is the original type of cameras. Our grandparents and even parents had them. They had to have a roll of film. They put it inside of the camera. They take the shots, develop the film, and take the photos out. Nowadays, we have DSLR cameras, which is the digital version of a film camera. And then came the mirrorless cameras that we have in the market right now. Now, I'll explain how DSLR works because film cameras, like some photographers buy them for aesthetics or for the look of them, but they are not a professional option right now. And I do not recommend buying a film camera in 2026 for anyone who doesn't know what they're doing. Now, DSLR and mirrorless cameras operate the same way. The lens allows the light to get into the sensor captures the light, processes the image, and saves it to an SD card or memory card of your choice. Now, I have both kinds of cameras. I have one mirrorless and one DSLR. I'm going to explain everything and how to choose between them. DSLR is the original type. It has a mirror. The main difference between them is the mirror, actually. That's why it's called mirrorless, because it's the only difference alongside, of course, the new technologies that are in them. Let me explain the mirror part. Now, we have this thing. It's called a viewfinder. We just look into it to see what we're shooting. So we put the camera up to our eye and we shoot. This is called an optical viewfinder. Although this does not have a viewfinder, but you can have mirrorless cameras same as this one shape-wise, and it does have a viewfinder, but it's called an electronic viewfinder. Now, an optical viewfinder operates in this way. If we unmount the lens, it has this mirror inside. Whenever we take a photo, this mirror would go up and the sensor would be exposed to light. Now I can see everything that the camera sees because this mirror will reflect whatever I'm seeing or whatever the lens is allowing me to see into a prism. There's a prism up here that reflects the image from the mirror to my eye. This is how optical viewfinders work. The problem with them is that it doesn't show you the real-time exposure, or if you change any setting, it will only show you what the mirror is reflecting. So sometimes if you have a slow shutter speed, you'd be shooting a blown out image without realizing until you take the image and look at it. If you're in an event, it might be like a hit or miss if you're not used to using your camera. Of course, as you're using your camera more, you would get to know the right settings for it. And there's an exposure meter inside of the OVF to show you if you're shooting an overexposed, underexposed, or even a properly exposed image. Now, mirrorless cameras don't have any mirrors inside of them. This sensor will capture the light immediately. Now, you might ask me, how can we see with an EVF? The EVF is a screen exactly the same as the one on the back of your camera. So you'd see exactly the same information in here and in the EVF. It's a small, tiny screen. The only downside is that sometimes they might have lower resolution. Nowadays, they are all good. They are all usable. And some of them have really, really great quality. So if you bump up your ISO, you will see the exposure change in the EVF. Now you can bypass the OVF in a mirrorless camera by using the live view mode, which is the mode that we shoot video in. So when we enable live view mode, the mirror will go up and the camera will basically be a mirrorless camera. Let me remove the lens and show you how the mirror will go up. This is the mirror going up. This is me taking an image with the mirror up. Now, if we flick the mirror down, let's take an image. You see the mirror go up. The sensor takes the light, processes the image, and the mirror goes down. Now, with these two available in the market right now, I wouldn't recommend someone new to shoot with DSLR. Use the latest technology. It's accessible, it's cheap, and you can get a great camera for, I don't know, a couple of $100s if it's cropped to frame camera. And we're going to talk about that later in the video, so keep watching. But if you're aiming to have an entry-level camera, go with mirrorless. Always go with the newest technology. Even if it's from 2 or 3 years ago, it's okay, but it's not a discontinued camera. DSLRs are discontinued. I wouldn't recommend anybody anybody shooting with them. That does not mean they are not professional. If you have a DSLR, or if it's your only option right now, someone gave it to you or something, go shoot with it, learn with it, then change to mirrorless whenever you're making money. But I don't see any videographers using DSLRs in 2026. Now, the third part is the sensor size. We have large format, medium format, full frame, cropped frame, micro four third, 1 inch, and even smaller ones in our phones. Now, the ones that we're going to compare today are full frame versus cropped frame. If you put them side by side, you would notice a difference in the sensor size. These two are the most accessible professional options in the market right now. A full frame sensor is equivalent to one picture inside of a film strip. They have the same physical dimensions of 36 by 24 millimeters, and it is the standard sensor size for flagship cameras. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of companies that make flagship cropped frame cameras, like Fujifilm, Sony as in the FX30, and the Reds as in Komodo, and even Arri as in the Arri 35. Now, a cropped frame camera is exactly like full frame, but cropped by 1.5 times. There are three main things that will help you choose the right sensor size for you. The first one would be the field of view, or how much space of the image are you covering. Because full frame sensors are bigger, your field of view will be wider, while cropped frame sensors will give you more reach if you cannot just go next to something. Same example as the one when we said, like in Kenya, we cannot go next to a lion to shoot a wildlife image of it eating another animal or something like that. So you can get the extra reach by using the same lens on a cropped frame sensor. Now let me explain the field of view in a more practical way. These two lenses are 28 to 75 from Tamron. This is an old one, this is the new one. This is a cropped sensor camera. APS-C, Super 35, all names can work for this camera. They are all the same. And this is a full frame camera. It only has one name. Now let's say we're going to shoot at 35 millimeters. 35 millimeters on a cropped frame will be an equivalent of a 50 millimeter on a full frame, because 35 times 1.5 equals 50. So each focal length that you're setting on your cropped frame camera, you need to multiply it by 1.5 times to get the exact same field of view, the exact same shot on a full frame camera. So 100 millimeters on a full frame would be 150 millimeters on a cropped frame. A 10 millimeter on a full frame would be 15 millimeter on a cropped frame. That's how you match your lenses if you want to have the exact same field of view on both cameras. A lot of people match two cameras. One of them is cropped frame and one of them is full frame. Although it's not recommended, but sometimes it's not a choice. That's what the production house or production company or even the set that you're working on requires you to shoot on. That's why you need to adapt to different jobs and different requirements depending on your client's needs. Now we're shooting at 70 millimeters on a full frame sensor. If we want to use the exact same lens on a cropped frame sensor, it will be an equivalent of almost 28 millimeters. This is the difference between 17 on a cropped frame and 17 on a full frame camera. Some jobs requires you to have the extra width, like real estate, some weddings, or you're shooting in a huge cathedral that you want to show in your video. That's when you use an ultra wide lens or a full frame camera with a wide lens. Now you can use ultra wide lenses with cropped frame cameras, but it won't be as wide as shooting on full frame as we've known at this point. Cropped frame cameras will help you in sports, wildlife, if you're traveling. Sometimes you cannot go to a certain place and you want to shoot that shot. If you don't want to crop, you can use a cropped frame camera. There are two other factors to choosing between these two lenses. So let's move on to the second point, which is the depth of field. Now, the general idea is that full frame will give you a shallower depth of field. The depth of field is the blurriness behind the subject. So the blurriness behind me. The more blurry, the shallower the depth of field is. The less blurry and more clear background that I have, that's called a deeper depth of field. I've explained all of these in the first episode, so don't forget to go watch it after this one. Now, I'll explain why full frame gives you a shallower depth of field. And if you want to skip it and go to the next point, you can. We have chapters in the timeline down below, so you can choose whatever you want. But I'm going to explain it so you know if someone asks you. Wider lenses don't usually give us a blurry background. So a 12mm f2.8 will not give us the same blurry background as a 35 or a 50mm f2.8. Although they have the exact same aperture number, they will not give us the same, let's say, background defocus or the same shallow depth of field because of an effect called compression. We're going to explain all of this in the next episode where we're going to talk about lenses, so subscribe to see that, but I'm going to explain it briefly. Compression is when you're shooting the exact same subject with the exact same size. Like now I'm just filling this amount of frame with a 20 millimeter. If I'm using a 50 millimeter, I'll push the camera back and zoom to 50 millimeter to fill the exact same amount of frame, but the background will be compressed. Because it's compressed, it will be more blurry. And because we're using wider lenses on cropped frame cameras to get the exact same millimeters or the exact same focal length on a full frame, that's why we're gonna get a deeper depth of field. So let's say we want a 50 millimeter focal length. On a cropped frame, we're going to use a 35 millimeter, which will give us a deeper depth of field or less blurry background. While on a full frame, we're going to use an actual 50 millimeter to get the same frame or to get the same aspect, which will compress the background more and give us a shallower depth of field in a creamy, blurry background, whatever you want to call it. If you care about shallow depth of field, go with full frame. If you don't, go with cropped frame. I didn't care before. A deeper depth of field allowed me to use manual focus more easily. This is a creative choice of yours. Choose the one that you want. The third and most important point is the low light performance. This is the hardest part of the video, so bear with me. Because the full frame sensor is larger than cropped frame, it collects more light. For example, you have two windows. One of them is large and one of them is small. Which one will get more light into the room? Of course, the larger one. The exact same thing goes for sensors. The bigger sensor will collect more light or more photons, which will result in a cleaner image noise-wise. The noise that you will get on a full frame camera will be cleaner and it will handle noise better than cropped frame sensors because the megapixels are spread over a larger space, which is the full frame sensor. If we have two sensors that are 20 megapixels, one cropped frame and one full frame, the full frame one will be definitely cleaner and will handle noise way better than cropped frame camera. I've used cropped frame cameras for 6 years. I've used it for my professional work, events, low light situations. I used a lot of denoiser. We were sharing all of our videos on social media, so no one noticed that this shot was taken on a cropped frame camera. And also, even on my full frame, I use something called dynamic active stabilization, which crops on the sensor to stabilize the image further. That's why I'm shooting cropped frame mode on a full frame camera all the time, and nobody notices anything because there are a lot of denoise applications and even denoise inside of your NLE or editing software. That's why you don't need a full frame camera. But in some jobs where you're traveling, when you have a documentary, when you have an event where you cannot carry lights or you know you're shooting in low light, a full frame camera would help you to get a sharper and cleaner image noise-wise. And also, we should always remember that there's nothing called no noise in the image. Even if you don't see it, if you zoom in, you would see the noise. In well-lit situations, you will not notice any noise. Only in low light, when you push the sensitivity of the sensor, which is the ISO, that's when you will notice the noise. The fourth and final point, which is the deal breaker, is the price. Full frame cameras are more expensive than cropped frame cameras. Although this appears to be bigger, but a full frame camera is expensive most of the time. As I said before, there are a lot of flagship cropped frame cameras that are more expensive than full frames, or they are the same price. So a ZVE1, which has the same sensor of an FX3 and FX6 and A7S3, is the exact same price of an FX30, which is a cinema camera that has a cropped frame sensor, or exactly the same as an FX3. So if you compare the FX30 with the FX3, they have the exact same body, the exact same features, but a different sensor size. While the FX3 is $4,000, the FX30 is $1,800, which is less than half the price. And also the lenses will be cheaper because you can get smaller lenses that will cover a smaller area, which is the smaller sensor. And the third benefit of a cropped frame sensor would be using full frame glass on cropped frame. You can always use a full frame lens on cropped frame cameras like this one, the 28-75, but you cannot use cropped frame lenses on full frame. It will cause a lot of vignetting. So you see like a black shadow up here, and not a shadow, a black like darkness. It will be just deep black because of the mount. You're actually seeing the mount that's here. You know, even if you want to shoot with cropped frame lenses, you have to zoom in 1.5 times, which negates the whole point of getting a cropped frame lens on a full frame sensor. So you have to buy full frame glass, and full frame glass is always more expensive. They are bigger, heavier, and more expensive. Now, knowing all of this, let's just finalize everything. If you have the budget and you're making money off of photography or videography or filmmaking, always go with mirrorless, full frame, and buy the latest technology. You would have it for many years. It won't break. The technology is not growing as fast as before. So your A7 IV right now won't be the old camera when the A7 V comes in. And some cameras do not age at all. As I told you before, some of my friends are still shooting with DSLRs because they are at the higher end of DSLRs. If you don't have the budget, if you're just starting out, which most probably is the case, you would probably benefit more from a cropped frame camera. First of all, you won't spend as much money. So you would learn on a cheaper camera. Then when you start making more money, you would go to a full frame system. If you cannot afford any mirrorless cameras in the market right now, go with your phone or buy a DSLR camera if you would like to just feel the camera and learn the buttons and settings and all of that. Although your phone can't shoot manual these days, so there's no point of buying this. It's just an extra hassle. This is my personal opinion. I'm not forcing you to buy anything. Always purchase responsibly. Don't fall for the offers and all the bells and whistles of Black Friday because it's going right now. It's Black Friday today. So don't go through that. Just purchase what you need and what makes you money and what benefits you. If you're not looking forward to make money, don't buy the fanciest camera. If you're just creating content, your phone is more than enough. If you want to upgrade from your phone, you can go to something like a cropped frame sensor. The FX30 is amazing. A full frame ZVE1, which is the cheapest actually that you can buy right now. They are both amazing choices. You would buy a couple of fast, cheap lenses with it, or the kit lens like this one. This is the 16 to 50 from Nikon. This is everything that I know about camera bodies. If you want more information, you can just Google it or ask me in the comments down below so I can answer all of your questions. We would actually benefit from your questions to make reels about them. So just give us the question and we will shout out you in the next reel or YouTube short. Now, after buying your camera body, you would need a lens. How would you choose this lens is what we're going to discuss in the next video. So subscribe to the channel if you're not already, like this video, comment down below what you want to know about next, or if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.